What up, YouTube? Flash Speaks back for another video. This was hilarious right here. Oh my God, man. You had Skip Bayless, you had Richard Sherman and Michael Irvin, man. It was hilarious. On the heels of the Philadelphia Eagles, my voice is going, as you all can see. Struggling right now because last night was crazy. So on the heels of the Philadelphia Eagles laying the beat down to the Miami Dolphins 31-17 because it could have been worse. Actually gave them a pick six. And also at the end of the game, if you remember, the Eagles kneeled down at the 10-yard line, which it could have easily been 38-10 in this game. But on the heels of that, we had on Undisputed, Skip Bayless, the super Philadelphia Eagle hater he is, and Michael Irvin, hater number 2. Explaining this away, coming up with some of the most ridiculous takes I've ever heard. We're going to listen. I'm going to chime in and correct these guys when necessary.
Can't wait for Friday, but the Eagles pretty much dominated the Dolphins last night in Philly, holding Tua's offense to 244 total yards, about half of what it was averaging, and finally winning 31-17. Pretty great. So, Michael Irvin, scale of 1 to 10, how afraid should the Cowboys be of the Eagles?
The word afraid is not the word I would use.
I understand.
You know what I mean? I would summarize it.
There.
Right. I will give you an explanation the best way I can, and I will say it this way. I'll take the word afraid out and go opposite of that word and use courage. Courage. Now, the question is...
Courage? What is this dude talking about? Too much to drink, too much of that yak before he came in.
When I saw what I saw yesterday, do I put this in front of courage or in front of courage?
Uh-huh.
And when you ask me what word goes in front of courage, I said,
This NBA season, there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, because FanDuel is hooking up.
Encouraged.
Sorry about that, y'all. I ain't paid my premium this month yet. So hopefully that won't happen too much.
By Philadelphia and what I saw that said to me, I should be encouraged that the Dallas Cowboys will.
Before we even continue, just want to say briefly that both Skip Bayless and Michael Irvin have picked the Miami Dolphins to not only expose the Philadelphia Eagles secondary, but to put up too many points that the Eagles offense won't even be able to hang with. This was their prediction. Okay, now he's encouraged.
Be fine against this team when they see it. After you saw what happened in the San Francisco game, everybody assumed that.
Look at Richard Sherman's face.
Assessed that, Dallas is out. They're not even with the big boys. And I came back here and said, let's hold on. That was one game. And obviously, it looked like they were not even prepared to play that game, which blew my mind that they didn't have the same thought about the game as San Fran did. But you saw that. And I thought that was some real good lesson, a real good lesson for them to see that, because they shocked after that. I can't believe that. Why are you so hard on that? All of that stuff came out. That was great. Now you see what you are. I saw Philly wanted to play the best against Miami. I saw a lot of shanks in that armor, Skip. I saw some shanks in that armor. Okay. I really did. And like they didn't even have their top corners yesterday. So I want to see what happened with Miami. If Miami had the top corners out.
Yeah, they had the top corners going into the game. You still picked them to win because of Miami's offense. What are you talking about, man?
Miami still believe they can get them. But I absolutely have some courage. I encourage that Dallas can get Philadelphia. Are we still in this game? And as I said, the key, we are, Mortimer. We're back. We're back in the hunt. With those top teams in the NFC, Dallas is back in that hunt.
Well, I guess they beat the Chargers. It's the Chargers who lost again yesterday. Oh, man, who might not even make the playoffs.
Go, Richard.
I'm just speechless, Skip. I'm sorry. There's no delay on my carry. I'm just speechless because I don't understand how this encourages you at all if you're the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, I guess you got to find some silver lining and hope in every other team's victory. But they played a really good Miami Dolphins team. They came away with the victory, a double-digit victory. That defensive line with Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter and Hassan Reddick and Nolan Smith and Josh Sweat. And I'm not even talking about the old school guys and Brandon Graham and Fletcher Cox. You will not be feeling comfortable when they approach you in Dallas or in Philly, whenever that is. You
at all.
Talked about the big play by my guy, Big Play Slay. Played a great game, is getting back to his ways, intercepting footballs, making huge plays. You hear Howie Roseman is in the market for a safety. They don't feel as great about their safety play. But a guy they do feel good about is a true number one receiver and all day, always open A.J. Brown.
That's bad.
It's a bad boy. It's a bad.
A.J. Brown right now is making an argument for being the best wide receiver in the league, definitely in the NFC. And some people, this was a big question. Would you take Tyreek Hill over A.J. Brown? Now, for me, I can understand going either way. Me personally, I always prefer the larger, more physical receiver like an A.J. Brown. But, I get it.
Like, he gets the ball, he makes a difference. You throw it down the field, he's double teamed, he makes a difference. Each and every game, each and every play, he's going to have to. And then you got the Phillies' very own DeAndre Swift, who's having a really good season and making a huge difference week in and week out in that offensive line, which a lot would still argue is one of the best in the National Football League, is going to give you issues. So, Skip, I mean, Irv, I don't see where you're finding encouragement in this, because this is a bad team. This is a bad team, and I mean bad in the best possible way.
Right.
All right, but Richard, as
Also right.
Michael pointed out, there's no Jalen Ramsey, there's no Xavier Howard, so the two starting
Then why did you pick them to win if there's no Jalen Ramsey, no Xavier Howard?
corners did not play last night for the Dolphins.
Right.
And by the end of the game, they were down, even Isaiah Wynn, so they were down 3 starting offensive linemen that allowed Philly to eat a little more than they should have been able to eat at Tua's expense.
Right, before we even continue now, I wish Richard Sherman would have retorted with the Eagles, or both of the Eagles starting safeties didn't play. They actually had a rookie player, free safety, and then Edmonds, a guy who just isn't even high on the depth chart. He's another backup playing at safety. So I wish you would have shown that, retorted with that. Like both teams were actually banged up, and both teams were not at 100%.
I hear that. That sounds good. I mean, this is the National Football League. Injuries happen. At the end of the day, you got to play with who's out there. You got to play with the corners that are out there. And the offense, Tyreek Hill was still out there. Jalen Waddle was still out there. Your impact players.
Jalen Waddle came back out there.
Yeah,
Jalen Waddle left the game too. We thank you for reminding everybody that they played half of Jalen Waddle, only played half the game also. So yeah, they were missing him too. You got something you want to finish, Aaron?
No, go ahead.
Okay, good. Because now listen, this game's about matchups. Now I'm not just throwing this out to you. You asked me.
This is get good. This is why I'm gonna really tear this whole thing to shreds.
Why? I'll tell you why. It's about matchups. And there are certain things that Dallas does well that right now Philly doesn't do well. Or I should say they play well into Dallas's hand. Right now, we got 10 turnovers from your quarterback. That's not even playing the Dallas Cowboys, who takes the ball away all the time.
That is correct.
So come on, man.
By the way, Michael, that's 10. That's second to only Desmond Ritter in turnovers in the NFL.
Second to Desmond Ritter right now. We only played 7 games.
Yeah.
7 games, they got 10 turnovers. I think he had 8 all of last year, 6-2.
That's
all of last year when you had that incredible year.
Yep.
So you're telling me I'm looking at something else. So you guys are looking at last year and you're placing it as a cover over this team, as if some L's going to all get fixed when they see the Cowboys, and these 10 turnovers won't be a problem, because I'm telling you, they will be a problem. And
So this here is an assumption that because Jalen Hurts has thrown some interceptions, and one I want to do a video. We want to talk about each one, but honestly, he's only thrown 2 or 3 interceptions out of 8. That actually concerned me. The interception last night thrown, More so, it's kind of like a coaching thing to me, because what's happening now is they were going up against Nick Fangio, who knows the Eagles system, back and forth, because he was actually he was an advisor to the Eagles staff last season. So he's very familiar with the offense, which makes the win even more impressive to me. But what's happening is when the defense is able to recognize an RPO coming up, what they're doing is sending a free rusher, and that's exactly what Nick Fangio did. He sent the free rusher who made a great play, jumped his hands up, the ball got tipped, and it went down and went to a linebacker. Interceptions like that, to me, are fluky interceptions. Quarterback's trying to go to the hot read, he sees the pressure, and the defender made a great play. Now, if you were just counting on Dallas to do that, you're not coming in and counting on Dallas to score or anything like that, then, that's all you got. Then, good luck with that, buddy.
Was going to take that ball away a couple times and make plays. Those are the things I'm talking about when I talk matchups in this game.
Yes. What should make you even more terrified is that he has all these turnovers and they still 6-1, Irv. Like, they have all this and they are still 6-1. They are not losing these games.
Yeah, exactly.
That he's having these turnovers, that he's making these mistakes. You should be very, very afraid of that. When he was playing at a high level and not making the mistakes, you expect him to win. When he's turning the ball over, you shouldn't be expecting him to still win. They're still winning ball games because they are overpowering people.
Last year when Dak had all those turnovers and they were still winning, nobody said that. I was the only one that would say that. But now
this is somewhat true, but it's with the caveat that Dax was throwing interceptions. Like Jalen's last interception last week, the one with the Jets, Dak was doing that regularly. Like the Dallas Cowboys were in a close race with the Philadelphia Eagles to try to win the division, and Dak was throwing interceptions to lose those particular games while being in a race to win the division. That was the reason why there was so much of a spotlight on it. It isn't the fact that he's just throwing interceptions. It's just that he was throwing them at the worst possible times, under the worst possible circumstances. That is what really the problem was. Okay, like if we're going to win the division and possibly win the conference, what does it matter, if he's throwing some interceptions? If ultimately the goal of winning is still achieved. Like, that's the difference.
Of a sudden, this suffice. That's amazing to me. That's just like 10 turnovers.
Something that Dallas Cowboys love to do right now, and this need to defend Dak Prescott, which I find to be absolutely ridiculous, and is one of the major differences between what I see with the fan bases is in Philadelphia, man, if the quarterback is not playing well or he's hindering the team or whatever, we're not looking to make a bunch of excuses if losses are being done. If losses are happening as a result of what's going on. I was very critical of Jalen Hurts last week. When we lost to the Jets, especially that last interception. For me, there's no excuse there for such a thing. I'm not going to sit here and talk about other quarterbacks and what that other quarterbacks do it too. That's never like an excuse for me. But what I'm finding, not all Dallas fans, but with many of them, especially the ones who at least have a microphone in front of their mouth, what they're doing is they're trying to justify the play of Dak Prescott by way of comparing it to other players, when in reality the context doesn't necessarily equate. And that's ridiculous.
It's never okay. But you're right. If you're winning football games, that's great. But what we're talking about right here is a projection. The Cowboys take the ball away. If you're already giving it away before we even take it away, then I'm going to expect that there'll be a lot of takeaways in that game, the ones you give.
That's what you're counting on. That's what's up.
The ones Dallas take. That gives you these opportunities we're talking about. Your base is running the football. You're running the football. When they slowed down the run, and not just last night, not just Miami. Miami slowed the run down and slowed down Jalen Hurts. But last week, what Cleveland did.
Where did Miami slow down Jalen Hurts? The Philadelphia Eagles First drive of the game, he went down and got 3 points because I don't know what the hell they were doing on that third down where they did the quarterback sneak. Second drive, the Philadelphia Eagles were able to drive down. The Eagles were driving down the field all day. Hurts passed for almost 300 yards, passed for 2 touchdowns. Like, where was he being slowed down? Of course, the Dolphins did a good job of stopping the run. They really did. They focused in on it and did a good job there. But I don't see where Jalen Hurts was stopped at all last night. I really don't.
Last week when you lost the game, and you watch those safeties shoot and make sure that Jalen Hurts don't get running around the end, and they did it again last night. This is taking away that sure run game that Philly was so great with. So now they're even a tush.
But also, just because the Dolphins or the Jets are good at stopping the Eagles' run game, you can't assume that Dallas is. Dallas, it's for the most part a weakness. Now, they did a good job against Austin Eckler last week, but we can also argue Austin Eckler's coming back definitely hampered by an injury that he's been having. It was his first week back, and he really doesn't look like himself. So that's going to be a challenge for Dallas. The Eagles in the past have been able to run the ball on them.
Push team, or they'll throw the ball up the field all the way to Heaven 11, AB 11. Last season, this team would mow you over. Like they did in the first half of last night. They mowed over Miami. They just ran the ball. But they're not doing it consistently as well as they did last year. And
Well, I don't know about that. This is questionable because the Philadelphia Eagles won the game last night, being up 7 points with 11 minutes to go. Philadelphia Eagles then went on a 6 to 7 minute drive, about a 7-minute drive, running 7 minutes off the clock, went up 14 points. That's when they scored at 31, and gave the ball back to Miami with 4 minutes to play in the game, up 14 points. After that, they were able to peel their ears back and just rush the hell out of Tua and pretty much shut them down. So to say that they didn't dominate on the ground is a lie, right? They were able to hold the ball for 7 minutes, and they were able to do it with a combination of running, using the tush push or the brotherly shove when they needed to convert, and also passing the ball to A.J. Brown and Dallas Goedert as well. So I don't know what Michael Irvin is talking about.
That gives Dallas.
At DraftKings Casino, we give credit where credit is due.
An opportunity.
Okay, Richard, so on a fear scale of 1 to 10, how
What's
much
your
do I
number?
fear Philadelphia as a Cowboy fanatic? I'm at a 3 because I'm going to remind you, you're
Liar. That's why you're pissed at this game.
and Big Play played last year at Dallas. So did Bradbury, played last year at Dallas. I know they've added a couple of pieces. They lost a couple of pieces on defense, but Dak Prescott hung 40 points on that defense on Christmas Eve last year. It wasn't that long ago. Pretty much the same defense, 40 points. And there's no C.J. Gardner-Johnson now, who was a really good piece of that defense, and now he's obviously a Detroit Lion.
All right, now, I wish Richard Sherman was more prepared here. I don't fault him because he's not an Eagles fan, so he probably wasn't paying close attention to the roster. Okay, now, what happened that game there on Christmas Eve, that Skip loves to talking about Dak Prescott hung 40 points on the Eagles defense. Okay, number one, offensively, it was a game where Gardner Minshew was the quarterback. Jalen Hurts didn't play. In that game, the Philadelphia Eagles uncharacteristically turned the ball over 4 times. 3 interceptions by Minshew and a fumble by Miles Sanders, giving the Dallas offense, Dak Prescott, a ridiculously short field throughout that whole third quarter. And mind you, a game where the Philadelphia Eagles with Gardner Minshew were actually up pretty much the whole game, up 17 points in the third quarter. The turnovers is what led to that happening, and that was Gardner Minshew, not Jalen Hurts. Okay? That's on the offense. And even despite that, still almost put up 300 points, and the Dallas defense, Vaughn defense, the Eagles were able to score 34 or 35 points on them, which is actually more embarrassing than we think Dak Prescott did to the Eagles defense. The fact that Dallas let Gardner Minshew score 34 is actually, that's more telling against the Dallas defense. Okay. Now, with the defense there, sure, Bradbury and Slay were there, but you know who was not there? Avonte Maddox, who is our starting cornerback for the Eagles. He's out now. We lost him. He's very important to what we do. The scheme we run, the slot corner is very important. Avonte Maddox is hurt. Avonte Maddox was hurt in that game. He got hurt in that game, hitting Dak Prescott. C.J. Gardner-Johnson, who we just mentioned, did not play in that game. Okay? So that's the reason why Dallas was able to move the ball as successfully as they did. Avonte Maddox goes out. What Dallas likes to do with CeeDee Lamb is they don't put him against Darius Slay. They don't put him against Bradbury. What they like to do is put him in the slot against the slot corner, because on most teams, the slot corner is not as good as the outside cornerbacks. Actually, our starting slot corner, who was one of the better slot corners in the league, was hurt, and he was replaced by a player named Josiah Scott, who is not a good cornerback, or he's at least a very bad matchup against CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb was then able to catch for well over 100 yards worth of passes and score a touchdown or two, because he was going up against either linebackers or Josiah Scott, right? That's really the tell of the story. Every Eagles fan knows that this was, for the most part, a failure on the part of the defensive coordinator we had last year, Jonathan Gannon, who is no longer there. And we feel, pretty much all of us that are watching, that the defensive coordinator we have now is an upgrade. And we're sure he won't make some of the same mistakes, because we saw last night what the Dolphins did. They started to put Tyreek in the slot a lot. And what we did was we added a few wrinkles. We're starting a young corner that we have in the slot named Eli Ricks, who is an undrafted free agent from Alabama. But at one time, he was the number one recruited cornerback in the country at one time. All right, so he's an unknown gem, similar to the Deron Bland that they have. So it will not be the same situation. It'll be quite different, sir.
So I'm also looking at last night, and Jalen came out in the second half wearing a knee brace. Right. And they were very tight-lipped after the game, but it looked like he was limping off the field at the end of the game, limping away from...
All right, now, this is the thing here. You want to say that you were not impressed with what the Eagles did. Now you want to tell us that we have a limping quarterback and we're able to win with a limping, gimpy quarterback with a knee brace. Which one is it, Skip? What would you rather have? Your starting corners out, or would you rather, or a quarterback that's gimpy and limping? Why wasn't the Miami able to take advantage of that? That's the question.
His post-game interview. I'm not knocking on wood for Jalen. I love him. I'm not wishing injury, but he does get banged up. He does run with the football. He does put himself in harm's way. And I'm wondering, will he be right the rest of the year? Will he be able to do what he does the rest of the year? Now,
interesting. Now we want to talk about injuries. Very, very interesting. When you have a quarterback in Dak Prescott who's injured more than almost any other starting quarterback in the league. Dak Prescott actually missed 5 games last year. Dak Prescott, who many Cowboy fans will say, his thumb wasn't right, last year, and that was the reason for the interceptions. And Dak Prescott missed time the year before that, who had missed whole whole seasons from the ankle, and all of that kind of stuff. You want to actually bring up injuries as being more of a concern for Jalen Hurts than for Dak Prescott. Jalen Hurts, who actually has never not finished the season. Every year he's played, he's always finished the season. Last year, he's so banged up, so hurt, missed so many games, he actually played all the way to the Super Bowl. Okay, buddy.
He's got some sort of knee issue. And again, last night, what was the big takeaway? Well, they kept the ball for 37 minutes. Tua had it for 23 because his offense could not run the football at all because they wound up with 12 carries for 45 yards. If you take all the hocus pocus runs away from Miami, Tua starts getting exposed because he's a little undersized and he's a little underarmed, and he's going to throw a floating interception that big play is going to put in his back pocket. So that's what happened last night. So I wasn't all that impressed.
So now we want to say Miami's not good and Tua's not good. He's little and this and that, even though he's an MVP front runner, and the Dolphins are putting up historic numbers that he said we haven't seen the likes of since the Greatest Show on Turf, and they're actually better than the Greatest Show on Turf. This is why Skip has very little to no credibility, because this is what he does. He can't just give credit, when people accomplish something. However, if the Dallas Cowboys do it, then they'll get all the credit in the world. Sad.
Philadelphia, because the truth was that was pretty predictable what happened last night.
All right, then why didn't you predict it? Why didn't you pick the Philadelphia Eagles to win the game?
Well, I mean, I guess, Skip. I guess we going. I got high hopes for you, dog, and we gonna see, because when we get to see it twice.
Yes, we do.
And I love how you like pick your moments to go back to last year and not this year, because there's not a lot of things to hide. There's not a signature win for you to hang your hats on this year. So you can't bring up anything from this year. That you can't give me a signature win against a winning team this year for the Dallas Cowboys. And the reason you can't, because I don't think they will get a signature win against a winning team, but they got
Richard is crazy, man.
plenty of opportunities. Philadelphia is coming into town, and we'll see.
Yeah, and we're just talking the matchup here, though, Sherman. Sherman, when you talk about San Fran runs that ball laterally or directly. You see what I mean? And Dallas has a more physical offensive line than Miami does coming at Philadelphia. So that'll give some opportunities. I can't wait for the game. I think it's going to be a great game. My only thing is, I was only questioning, why did Jalen kind of let me know about that knee injury? That puzzled me as I watched this last night.
What Mike Irvin is trying to say here, what he said earlier, is that Jalen Hurts brought up a knee injury in order to excuse what he's trying to say is bad play. Okay, number one, he didn't play bad. He passed for 70%, completed 70% of his passes, passed almost 300 yards in the game, 2 touchdowns. His rating was over 100, so he didn't play bad. I don't know what Mike Irvin was talking about, so there would be no need for an excuse. Number two, he didn't just bring up a knee injury. He was asked by the interviewer, I forget the young lady's name, about his knee and about the knee brace, I guess, which they saw. And then he pretty much answered her question saying that I'll be fine. So that was Michael Irvin is just not paying attention to what's going on. And I wish his producers would have, clarified this for him, so that way he would have saved himself the embarrassment.
Instead of just saying, hey, everybody's fine. I know he ultimately said that. But now, remember now, this is a developing passer. Thank God they got AB11, because he's cured any mistakes that you made, and he's been catching a lot of big passes and a lot of big plays. When the Cowboys see him, hopefully they're going to cloud AB11 and see if Jalen is going to be that accurate, and see if he's having a confidence issue.
Crowd him with who? We just saw him catch the ball over 2 people last night. So they're going to crowd him with who? With old man from the damn Colts. Oh, Deron Bland? Okay.
That's why he's bringing up the knee, because he's saying, I know I ain't throwing like I need to, because my knee hurt, or doing the things I need to do. So is he feeling a little less than Jalen Hurts being hurt, if you know what I mean?
Yeah, Michael Irvin. Once I heard Stephen A. Smith call him pathetic, and this was pathetic. This was absolutely pathetic, man. So you see how it is, man. These guys, they can't believe that, their pick was wrong. The Dallas Cowboys made no type of headway in the division. They're still behind. They still have a gauntlet of a schedule that I don't think they'll succeed in as well as the Eagles will. The Eagles are a much more mentally tougher team, more talented, better coached, the whole shebang. And they're just mad. They're just mad. But the thing about it is, you being mad is not going to help the Cowboys. I'm sure Michael Parsons is going to talk tonight about everything and all of that, and that's going to be funny too as well. So with that, man, hope you enjoyed this. Peace.